now, so that's good. So I will stop sharing my screen and I will hand it over to Glenn. So thank you, Glenn.
Thank you very much, Dean, and good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for being here today and making yourselves available. Um, by way of starting, I acknowledge that I'm on Ngunnawal country based in Canberra, and I pay my respects to all those Indigenous cultures of a long-lasting period, and pay my respects to elders past, present, and emerging. So yes, thank you again for being here. I'll just share my screen to get started, and away we go. Okay, so by way of introduction as well, I had a career. I'm sort of semi-retired now. I had a career for 35 years in the spatial sector. I worked with mostly federal government departments, Geoscience Australia, industry, the Environment Department, and more recently, the National Indigenous Australians Agency. I also worked with some state government agencies, all in the realm of the spatial domain. Some of you may be familiar with the Protected Areas Database, CAPAD. So that was one of my responsibilities along the way. And so, yeah, I'm I've kind of changed my influence or my interest, rather than from the tech side and learning more about uh, getting technical skills. I'm interested in the people side of things. So hence today, I'm wanting to let you guys know about the kind of work that I'm engaging with now. So as you can see there, the transitions from technical experts into a manager can often feel like it's a whole new domain. And so for those who have already kind of mastered the, the areas of spatial analysis and data modeling, um, then and you're interested in stepping into a management or a team leader's role, that actually requires a very different understanding. And it's understanding humans being themselves. So in terms of what both myself and others have observed in the field, and in terms of research with all sorts of venture capitalists, startups, entrepreneurs, these organizations and companies have sort of all had the same access to, money, well-skilled people, and they're still not doing very well. So what's been observed is that the root cause of this um, wasn't wasn't actually a lack of money or technical skills, or capability. It was the people side of the business. So what has been observed also, that in terms of the gap between a transition from technical expertise into leadership, is that as well, particularly as geospatial experts and technical people, we're trained to look at solving complex uh, spatial problems and getting to grips with really sophisticated tools, and to think about data and systems systematically. So that's the technical side. And then when it comes to the people side, um, most of the traditional approaches have either been in the kind of realm of behavior modification. So you just need to change what people do, or you need to get a new skill, or maybe it's you've heard of the Myers-Briggs or the DISC kind of profiles, in terms of a personality type, trying to box somebody into a particular um, you know sort of slot. So an extroverted um, red cap thinking person or something. So what I'm interested in, oh, well, actually, I'll come to that in a sec. You may have heard things like just fake it till you make it, or you've got to uh, just hustle and get up and at a certain time, and or use a particular kind of body language. All those things, those are kind of tips and tricks that traditionally might work for a short time, but generally longer term don't work quite so well. So um, so what I'm interested in is and this is the way that we usually and typically that we work, is that we have no time and no money, okay? And we need to do a lot of hard work so that we can be seen to be accomplished. So the order of things in the current realm is that we have to do to be something. What I'm interested in looking at is kind of flipping that paradigm on its head, and offering an alternative way of looking at things. So we flip that and we start with being first. So we're being responsible, or we're being aware. So, and that we do care and we take timely action. And then we have fulfillment and great teamwork. So it's flipping it. The idea is that we flip this current paradigm on its head. So what I've kind of been training myself in, and what I wanted to let you know about, was something that's called the Being Framework, and an associated being profile. So you may have heard of the word ontology in a data realm. This is slightly different in that an ontological approach or an inquiry is how are we and how are we being, okay? Not only so how do humans behave, okay? So the being framework provides a methodology for understanding and transforming human performance, effectiveness, leadership, and well-being. So I want to briefly just cover the core components of the being framework. So three kind of components that we'll have a quick look into. So there's the ontological model itself, the methodology, the transformation methodology, and then there's the being profile assessment tool itself. So in terms of the ontological model, if you think of something like either a target or maybe even rings of a tree, what happens is that there's at the very core, at the very middle of each of us individually, is our unique being. Everybody has their own unique being. The next layer out from that is where we look at what we call the moods, and I'll look at this a little more systematically shortly. The next layer out, what we are examining are what we call the primary ways of being, and then the secondary ways of being are things that are visible to people. So we kind of start in the middle and work our way out. So out here in this kind of realm outside ourselves, we've got all of these kind of thoughts and feelings, and then these translate into our decisions and our behaviors, and then from that flow our accomplishments and our experience. And it's kind of, this is all in the realm of psychology, or that psychology is based in looking at a lot of these behavioral aspects. What the being framework and being profile is interested in is a much more kind of philosophical or metaphysical realm, looking at this ontological way of being. So moving on to the transformation methodology, it's basically a way or a structured approach, if you like, to looking and understanding about both our healthy and the unhealthy ways in which we are being. So we're looking at awareness, for example. What aspects of being do we have a healthy relationship or an unhealthy relationship with? We also look at making a fundamental shift in how you relate to either individual or specific ways of being. And then the third component of that is integrating that into your life so that it's there all the time, and you are raising your awareness of these things. So to kind of go back to the tree analogy that I mentioned earlier, there you could think of this as sort of at the top of the tree, if you like, are the sort of all the tactics and the tips and the tricks, techniques. It's almost like watering the leaves and expecting the kind of the tree to grow. And so that's almost like, the changing of behaviors is kind of like watering the leaves. As we work our way down the tree, we start to get into looking at particular mental models or strategies, and then at the bottom, we're looking at the foundational kind of and the root level things that nourish the tree that enable that tree to grow. So we're looking at the root level work, if you like, that creates a sustainable change and growth in that tree. And this is the realm down the bottom here, where the being profile and the being framework is kind of centered itself. So just a brief overview of the being profile, the third component. This is what is measured. So there's a 45-minute sort of assessment tool that maps the health of your relationship with all of these ways of being. It's followed then by a debrief session, and currently the being profile is used in more than 40 countries and has been used by thousands of people. So you can see here you've got again the four distinct layers, if you like. So the moods, vulnerability, care, fear, and anxiety. All these factors effectively roll up into what's called the meta factors, the overall umbrella and overarching factors, looking at awareness, integrity, and effectiveness. So why does this matter for technical managers? So I wanted to give you a couple of different scenarios. You might have a scenario where you've got an over-responsible manager. So you've been promoted as the team leader, and obviously you know that the technical work So sometimes what happens is when your team struggles, you kind of want to jump in and fix it. And I certainly recall this from my experience moving from that technical leading into managing staff. So I think what most of us find is that jumping in and fixing this actually creates a dependency, and then it stifles kind of team growth. And from my experience, yeah, I was completely knackered at the end of the day, kind of managing all these bits and pieces. So if we view this through the being framework lens, um, if we view it from coming from not about being not about time management or delegating skills, ultimately it's about um, a relationship, potentially an unhealthy relationship with responsibility. So you might want to sort of be able to control all of the matters all of the time. What we look at is from a healthy relationship point of view, what is what can we be responsible for? So what can we own in terms of the outcomes, the impacts, and the consequences? So shifting that view. A second scenario might be where you've got a team member, for example, that is consistently missing deadlines. And you know, as a team leader, that you have to address this. There's a kind of something in the background that just stops you from doing that. You know, you put it off and procrastinate a bit, and it's like, it'll be fine. It'll resolve itself. Looking at it through the being framework lens, um, it might be in terms of the relationship that you have to factors like authenticity or courage. And it might be that you're putting that off because you kind of don't really deal so well with conflict, and that the health of your relationship with courage is not so great. And also being clear about setting your expectations of what you want for the team. Um, you might have had experience with maybe a manager saying, "Oh, look, just go do a course in in kind of how to deal with difficult conversations." But generally, that's a behavioural thing, and it's not really looking at the underlying, getting kind of under the hood, if you like, and looking at, well, what's the relationship that you as an individual have with courage or authenticity. So as a GIS professional, you also kind of have a bit of an advantage as you're kind of starting to think in a systems kind of way anyway. You're thinking in terms of layers and relationships, and in terms of this is the aspects of being and their kind of interconnectedness. In terms of spatial accuracy, you know, you're trained in spatial accuracy, and that's all in the being world. That's kind of looking at integrity and how those things are aligned in leadership. You know about data quality, and this relates to the quality, if you like, of one's being. You're familiar with scale and resolution, so being able to see things at different levels. So yeah, these are things like the behaviors versus what's going on at a deeper level. Again, kind of what's going on under the hood. And I'm sure many of you are also familiar with coordinate transformations, and how this might then actually map into a personal transformation. So the being framework is I guess a systematic way of being able to apply those analytical skills that you've already got to human interactions and dynamics. So In terms of applications, I'm going to look at three. There's to ourselves, to others, and to teams. So in terms of an application to yourself, um, uh, leadership, as it says here, leadership transformation starts with understanding yourself and what your impact is on others. So you may want to consider these kinds of questions. Which ways of being do I currently have a healthy relationship with? Where am I showing up inauthentically at the moment? And what what kind of patterns of behavior keep cropping up? Just keep coming up all the time, despite whatever you kind of, the tips, tricks, the courses that you're kind of undertaking, that kind of thing. Um, what I what I'm inviting you to do is to reflect on your own personal kind of leadership challenge that you've had of late, and instead of asking, "What did I do wrong?" You could ask yourself then, "How was I actually being in that situation?" That might provide you some insight um, as to um, how that or how that interaction may have gone, either positively or negatively. In terms of the framework applying or an application for others, I guess once you've kind of got a better understanding of yourself and you're able to develop a lens for seeing other people, you're sort of doing that without necessarily so many judgments. It takes some practice. Um, and an example might be when a team member that you've got really doesn't want to kind of participate in that or resists the some new process or new technology. So from a behavioral or psychological point of view, you might be looking at, well, um, they're just being a difficult team member. So, maybe they need some training. Um, from a being framework perspective, you might want to consider, well, what is their relationship with freedom or fear, for example? Um, are they experiencing a lack of choice, or that perhaps they're dealing with an underlying anxiety, or the health of their relationship with anxiety is not as healthy, so they're not dealing with that quite as well. And in my experience, this kind of led from or shifted my perspective from one of really being frustrated with a team member to kind of being able to ask a question that opens up new lines of inquiry. In terms of an application to a team, the framework and the being profile scales really well from individuals into teams and also across organizations. So an example from the tech world, there was that employed the being framework and the being profile was where we had a company about 50 employees and technical people. Despite having really well qualified and senior people, they were still quite dysfunctional. So the founders of the organisation, or got in touch with Genesis, the company that developed the Being framework, had some sessions, and then continued on having fortnightly meetings. So everybody started to become aware of how both individually and as a team they were being. So as a result of these kinds of conversations and team meetings, people actually were able to get on. They grew their team, and now they're really successful and have expanded to more than 20 countries. I want to, getting close to the end, just in terms of the key points from today, that sustainable leadership does require working at the kind of the base or the root level. And it's around transforming these aspects or these ways of being, and not just a behavioral modification process. The distinct ways of being also provide a comprehensive map for understanding yourself and others. It's ontological work, okay? So it's about who and how you are being, not about just what you know and what you do. One of the other key points I want to make is that transformation is possible. You're not fixed in any particular way of being. We're not fixed objects. And we can at any time transform our relationship with any one of these ways of being. And as a GIS professional, it's and the training that you guys have had, or that we've all had really, that's an advantage in being able to understand and apply this kind of framework. So in terms of a critical inquiry, I mean, you will have spent years developing technical mastery in geospatial science, right? The being framework and the being profile offers a comparable systematic approach to the human side of leadership. It's not about becoming a different person. It's about transforming the health of your relationship and the qualities of these that you already possess, and developing these into a healthy relationship with awareness, integrity, and effectiveness. And it's looking at the question not being limited to what should I do as a leader. The question then becomes, who and how am I being as a leader? I'm finishing there, and what I'm also offering now is, and to make you aware of, is if there's something that you kind of are interested in delving into, I'm actually offering a 90-minute workshop on these two dates, so Wednesday the 18th and Friday the 20th of February, for an hour and a half, to really go into a lot more detail, not only about the being framework, but also the being profile. And if you are interested, please let me know, contact me, and on any of those, either the email or my mobile number there. So I'll just I'll stop there, and we have Joseph. Okay. Oh, he needed to jump off. Okay. G'day. Excellent. So,
Thank you for that, Glenn.
pleasure.
That was terrific. I mean, if anyone has any questions, then either, as I said at the beginning, either just throw them into the chat, or we've still got a little bit time to go. You can probably just take yourself off mute and just ask Glenn the question. I highly recommend the being profile. I've done it myself, so and it opened my eyes up to a whole range of things, especially things which you thought you were probably at the higher end of, and you may have then been, ended up at the lower end. Not to say that you dysfunctional in any way, but your perception of yourself can be different to what other people perceive you as well. So I highly recommend engaging with Glenn and taking him up on the offer. And if anyone has any questions, just feel free to jump in now, and I'm sure Glenn will be happy to answer those.
Thanks, Steve.
Yeah, I'm very interested about Glenn's the webinar about the technical manager's advantage. I did mention about the one angle, like the scale and resolution, seeing a different level. I think the behavior and deeper quality, because like the one team, how did you think about different level as a, how do I say, as a junior jazz analyst or as a senior jazz analyst or as a technical consultant or manager level. So how do we changing the angle to thinking about that as it might be hard for junior person or less experienced jazz professional to thinking about that. How do we do this? Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, thanks, Simon. So I think it goes to the point I was making before about understanding ourselves and our impact on others. So getting that awareness of um, how we are actually being before we kind of start to engage with others. So it's really about it, kind of, yeah, a journey or an understanding about what is driving our behaviors as an individual. Um, and as you start to develop that, you can start to see that occurring in others. And then that allows for a conversation or some questions, look, kind of open-ended questions. Oh, that's interesting. Tell me a little more about your thinking about how you got to that point, or I guess because you've seen something for yourself, you are then able to engage with others around that. Emma, great, no problem. Thanks for your comment.
Yeah, thank you for your answering. I think it's like more people skill side
Yeah.
to figure out what they think and to engage, to ask the question and to learn and to get the some the feedback from them. That's pretty terrific from my observation from your webinar. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, pleasure.
Does anyone else have a question they'd like to ask of Glenn?
I think it's just me left, and no questions. Thanks very much, Glenn. Very interesting stuff.
Okay, good. Yeah, no
Thanks,
problem.
Melissa.
Okay.
So what I'll do is I might grab that last slide of Glenn's and we'll put it up on the website. So on the Together Spatial website with the recording, and so people can see those dates and reach out to Glenn if they're interested. And as a reminder, Glenn's going to do a repeat session on Friday in the afternoon. I should remember the exact time. I think it's like 4 or something. So yeah, so appreciate everyone for coming along today. I appreciate Glenn for your time, and I'm sure we'll keep the conversation going because it really is. It's opened my eyes. It's really changes your framework on how you're interacting with others. So, trying to actually understand from your point of view where it's come from, and that can be hard sometimes. So thanks, Glenn. Thanks everyone for coming along, and I look forward to seeing you at the next webinar. Thanks a lot, everyone. Okay. Bye
Thank
for
you.
now.
Good.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Glenn.
Thanks, Simon. Bye, Melissa.